You get a real feeling of this country and the people in it when you're on a train, speaking from the back of a train, and the further you get away from that, the worse off you are, the worse off the country is. Harry S. Truman. It's embarrassing that we have reached the stage that no one knows what a whistle-stop train is anymore. Arthur Edson, Associated Press. Whistle-stop trains were often regarded as special and memorable events in the lives of those who came to see them. Train visits by candidates running for the White House or the governor's mansion were front-page news, a matter of community pride, and became an important part of local history. Schools and businesses would close for the occasion. The population of entire communities would show up, blocking streets and surrounding the railroad depot, to see and hear a famous politician. These were once-in-a-lifetime events for residents of small-town America, a bit of I remember when history to pass on to their children and grandchildren. Herb Thompson, who saw President Dwight Eisenhower's train tour in North Carolina in 1952, said, "I dare say the presidential candidates of today wish they could move around the country with the ease and comfort which whistle-stopping campaigning provided." The train gave them privacy, but also a room where they would relax and rest. Thompson noted in an article for State magazine, "Then, too, there was an air of enthusiasm and adventure for the thousands of people who always greeted them at the scheduled stops." More than 150 years after President Lincoln stopped briefly to say a few words at the rail depot in Peekskill, New York, while on his way to his inauguration in Washington, the local paper noted that Lincoln's whistle-stop appearance was a shining moment for the Hudson Valley Burg, an event that instantly became a permanent part of its lore. Decades after he saw President Harry S. Truman speak briefly at the train depot in Albany, New York, Edward Gill still remembered the encounter. When the president first appeared on the platform, someone in the crowd hollered, "Up and at 'em, Harry!" Truman laughed and said, "I'm up and I'll get right at 'em," Gill wrote. I recall he talked about the high price of pork chops, among other trivia, and in conclusion said, "Would you like to meet the real boss of the White House?" And to scattered applause, Bess Truman came out to join her husband and made small talk. Truman and his wife waved goodbye and thanked us for coming out, and the train departed for his next stop. 40 years after the campaign train of Democratic presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy stopped in their community, residents of Lodi in Central California still recall the visit by the charismatic politician. "It was very exciting," said Peggy Hamilton, who remembered being a fairly politically active 10-year-old when she saw Kennedy stop in Lodi. "I remember that more than anything much he said. I was very excited to be able to see him in person. I was a very, very passionate supporter of Bobby Kennedy. It was more the romance of the name than understanding policy, beyond the Vietnam War, which I did understand." Bill Maxwell, then a 16-year-old sophomore at a local high school, still remembered the details from that day and why he went to see the anti-war candidate. "Those were kind of my hippie days. It was hot. I was barefoot and my feet were covered with railroad track grease. It was a pretty good-sized crowd, considering Lodi was pretty conservative. I went because it was something to do in Lodi. The war was omnipresent, and I was looking 2 years down the road and being eligible for the draft.